As-salatu was-salamu ala Muhammadi wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So our focus today is going to be the 12th juz. But before we do that, the overview that we always go into: 114 surah, 30 ajza. Quran was never revealed as ajza, it was always revealed as ayat. 6,236 ayat, placed into chapters or surah by the Prophet. 114 surah, it was arranged that way, and that's how it is. But 30 just to make sure that we're able to finish it in a month. The reason why we've picked on ajza this year is so that inshallah we can at least journal some of the ayat from the 30 ajza, and you'll be able to have the whole Quran on record, at least start you off, and then hopefully you will continue doing this as you go along. Personalizing the Quran or journaling the Quran is actually there so we can connect to it. Now here I have Hora, and I love this picture because you can see how she has highlighted her Quran. This was a Quran, her mom was a student of ours, and this was her Quran that I think we gave her as a present for doing well in fiqh about 8 years ago, and now her daughter's highlighting, and you can see how she's done such an amazing job. I'm in awe of this little girl. Entry requirements: wudu, recite in Arabic. If you cannot, at least try learning. Seek protection from shaitan. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Enter in his name. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. La ilaha illallah, and the dua of the Prophet. Walzam, make me commit. Qalbi, my heart. Hifdha, to the internalizing kitabika of your book. Kama allamtani, as you have taught me. In other words, make me love your book. He writes this: the Quran is a love letter to us as the readers, and for us is to seek out that love. And basically that's what we're saying in this dua. It's just phenomenal. So this is our focus today, Juz 12. It's Surah Hud and Surah Yusuf, and the knick-knack we've got here is 11.114, and you can't forget it, because how can you forget what 11.114? You just can't. It's just one of those things. 114 you can never forget, okay, because that's how many surah you have in the Quran, and 11, and it's something to do with daily salah, but we'll come to it in a minute. Surah Hud, in essence, when we look at the surah, the focus, like I said, of Surah Hud is basics of faith. But the Prophet said it was this surah that made his hair grey. It was the attitude of those who rejected divine guidance. So we've been looking at it. We started off with basics of faith with ayah 1 to 4, because this starts at ayah 6 or ayah 5. But the first thing we're going to look at is ayah 9 to 11. Now here Allah says, وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنَّا, if we make the human being taste mercy from us, ثُمَّ نَذَعْنَا, and then we take it away from him, إِنَّهُ لَيَعُوسٌ كَفُورٌ, you will find him despairing and covering up the truth. He will be ungrateful. That's what he does. وَلَئِنْ أَذَقْنَاهُ نَعْمَاءَ, but it says, and if we were to make him taste a favor, نعمة بعد ضراء, after distress, مَسَّتْهُ, which afflicted him, which actually got him where it hurts, لَيَقُولَنَّ, he will say, ذهب السيئات, the evils have gone away, عني, have gone away from me, and he'll probably attribute it to himself. إِنَّهُ لَفَرِحٌ فَخُورٌ, and then he's happy and he's boasting. So let's have a look in my Quran, and you can see it. And I've highlighted it here. 9, 10 and 11. And this is Allah. And finally 11, he says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا, except those who are patient, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and those who do good deeds, أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ كَرِيمٌ, they have forgiveness and a phenomenal reward. So besides people who believe, who do sabr and do amilu salihat, the others all think that way. And it's us to be able to benchmark ourselves and see where we are, whether we're ungrateful or we are grateful. So this is the last verse, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ كَبِيرٌ. Right, now we're going to look at 15 and 16. Okay. He says, مَنْ كَانَ يُرِدُ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا, whoever desires, wants, yuridas wants, the life of the world, وَزِينَتَهَا, and its decoration, نُوَفِّي إِلَيْهِمْ, we will give everything back to him. That means fully recompense him أعمالهم, his deeds here. فيها وهم فيها لا يبخسون. And we will not, they will not suffer a loss because of that. But he says, أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار. That means if they do not connect the dunya to the akhirah, then and they get everything back in the world for what they wanted, there's nothing left for the akhirah except the fire. Agitation, because they've got nothing. وَحَبِطَ مَا صَنَعُوا فِيهَا وَبَاطِلُ مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And literally they have done nothing, and everything will be vain, like everything will not. So literally what this is trying to tell me is that connect your dunya to the akhirah. So let's go to 15 and 16. I've put dunya and I've put the fire for the akhirah. Everything we do, I've put link your dunya to your akhirah. So basically it's telling me whatever I do, think, have you linked it to the akhirah or not? Now what I want you to do, and it's all about prophets, all I want you to do is highlight the name of the prophets. So you will see in ayah 25, I'll put it down. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. You only highlight Nuh, so you will circle Nuh, and I've done it in blue, you can do it in whatever color you like. And then what did he say? أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. So don't serve anyone but Allah. So you could color that in if you want in green, and you'll see why I'm saying that to you. So that's Nuh. Then we come to ayah 50, and I'll turn it over. Incidentally, I'll show you my Qur'an. So when I'm talking about Nuh, I have drawn the waves like mountains when his son called out. I have put a mountain here, that's Mount Judy, where the ark came to rest on. You can see I put Judy there. I've put his dua, I've highlighted it in yellow. But when you come to 50, you can see I've highlighted وَإِلَىٰ عَادٍ أَخَاهُمْ هُودٍ. What did he say? يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ. Can you see that? Same thing. It's the same message. يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ. Next one you will highlight 61 is Shu'aib. وَإِلَىٰ ثَمُودَ أَخَاهُمْ صَالِحًا. No, it's Salih. And to Thamud we send Salih. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ. Again, مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. There is no God. Look at it. Again, Salih. قَالَ, and it's the same thing. Look at that. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. Same here. مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. And I could possibly do that here as well. Like that. And you could do that too. Okay. Turn the page, the next one. And here you have Ibrahim. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُلُنَا إِبْرَاهِيم. Now here's when the angels came to Ibrahim بِالْبُشْرَى, with good news. They said قَالُوا سَلَامًا. This is when they're giving the good news of a son. Okay, قَالُوا سَلَامًا. So here you do the same thing. You highlight Ibrahim. And you can go over the whole thing and highlight the names of the prophets like I have done. So when you see them, you know these are prophets. And you'll see when we come to Shu'aib, who I mentioned earlier, but he's down here, that he says the same thing. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرِهِ. So let's go back. That's Ibrahim. And then you have وَامْرَأَتَهُ قَائِمَةً. His wife was standing by. فَضَحِكَتْ. Now the translation says she laughs. But it also means she ovulated. So you could, if you want to, and you may forget this, right, put a circle around for dhahikat and put ovulated, because that means more sense than her having laughed. I mean, how could she have a child straight after laughing, or conceive after that? It meant even at that old age she ovulated. So you can see for dhahikat and then ovulated, and then highlight Ishaq, and then again Ishaq and Yaqub, because in this ayah he says we gave him the good news of Ishaq, and after Ishaq a son who is Yaqub. Same thing, you will highlight Lut. وَلَمَّا جَاءَتْ رُسُلُنَا لُوطًا. So you'll highlight Lut. And then in 84, وَإِلَىٰ مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا. And then you'll highlight Shu'aib. And you can see the same message. قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. Okay, so go back and you'll see that's why I've highlighted Shu'aib. Now the next one we're going to look at is Musa. So let's turn the page and you'll find Musa there. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا وَسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. So you will highlight Musa again in your Quran. And you'll go through the Quran, you will find, it's like here you find Shuaib, you could highlight Shuaib too up here. Said, yeah, Shuaib, you can see Shuaib over there. Right? I've highlighted this in ayah 90, which you could as well, which is when he says, وَاسْتَغْفَرُوا رَبَّكُمْ ثُمَّ تُوبُوا إِلَيْهِ إِنَّ رَبِّي رَحِيمٌ وَدُودٌ. I love this ayah. So you could write istighfar and you could highlight that in green as well. Now we're going to look at the ayah of Salah, which is here. I'll take this away so you can see it. Okay, let's go to the ayah in the Quran. So let's go step by step and see what he's saying. Okay, so we'll start off with وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ. Establish Salah. طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ. At the two parts of the day. So this is talking about Fajr and then Zuhr and Asr, because it becomes afternoon after Asr, right? وَزُلْفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. And that which is nearest to the night. Zulfa is the closest part of the night. You could take it as the beginning and the end. You could put Maghrib and Isha. But that is actually the time for Maghrib and Isha. And this is where the 3 times comes in. Okay. And then he says, إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Good deeds take away evil deeds. And this is a dua of Imam Zainul Abidin from here. Ya muhsinu kadataka al-musi. Or the one who does ihsan in front of you, the sinner. فَتَجَاوَزَنْ قَبِيهِ مَا عِنْدِ بِجَمِيلِ مَا عِنْدَكَ يَا كَرِيمُ. Change what is evil in me or bad in me with what is good in you. So here it's talking about how Salah can change things. ذَلِكَ ذِكْرَى لِلذَّاكِرِينَ. This is a reminder for those who are constantly reminding themselves of Allah. So if you look at my Quran here, I've cut that out, I've printed it, cut it out, stuck it here so I don't forget. And I know it's times for Salah. You've got all the times here. You can read them up later. The Nafilas are times as well. That's Salah, commit to Salah. Establish Salah at the two ends of the day and the closest part of the night. And near Dhakireen here, I've put those who are actively remembering Allah. I've also put Ya Muhsinu here. Alright. So let me just explain this a little bit. If you go to ayah 113, he says, if you look here, he says, وَلَا تَرْكَنُوا إِلَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Do not lean on those. Tarkanu comes from rakana. Rakana is to lean on. Do not lean on those who are unjust. Don't rely on them, lest the fire touches you, and then you have no guardians besides Allah. Okay, وَمَا لَكُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ مِنْ أَوْلِيَاءَ وَثُمَّ لَا تُنصَرُونَ. And you will not be helped. So the question arises, who do I lean on? So he says here, lean on Salah. That is what will take you forward. Okay, so you could add that in if you want. But now we're going to go to one of my most favorite surahs of the Quran, and that's Surah to Yusuf. Okay, so again, I've cut it out from the website. I've put it here. There you go. I've written up here, trust in God, because it's all about trust. It's all about His trust in God. I'm going to first take you through. I mean, these are the sections here which talk about the whole story of Prophet Yusuf. And if you look, I've put a little post-it note here. It's like Taha, the story of Musa, right? So it's the story of Prophet Yusuf. It answers questions by the Ahlul Kitab when they said, name a blind prophet with many sons. And this is when the Surah to Yusuf was revealed. So the Bani Israel enter Egypt in Surah to Yusuf and they leave in Surah to Taha, right? It's really, really an amazing story. So I'm going to go through some of the highlighting that I've done, and then I'll tell you the story. So I need you to sit back and listen to the story. So you can see I've drawn the dream here. But let's start off first with Qasas, okay? So he says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. We narrate to you the best of narratives. بِمَا أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. In our revealing you to this Qur'an. وَإِن كُنْتَ مِن قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الْغَافِلِينَ. And before this, you were certainly one of those who didn't know. So the next one. Now here's where we're going to start our story. Okay, so if you look at my Qur'an, we find Qala Yusuf. So Yusuf is 9 years old, and he tells his father, Li Abihi, Ya Abati, oh my father, Inni ra'aytu, I see, Ahada ashara kawkaban, 11 stars, Washamsa wal Kamra ra'aytahum li sajidin. So I see my 11 stars, the sun and the moon, and I see them doing sajda to me. So his father tells him that, you know what, don't tell your brothers. Because if you tell your brothers, they might get jealous. Now, a little bit about where they come from. So there's 12 brothers, right? Yaqub first marries Laya. Laya has 10 sons. And then he marries, when Laya dies, he marries Rahil, Rachel in English. Rahil is the younger sister. And from Rahil, they have 2 sons, Binyamin and Yusuf. And the 10 brothers always felt a little bit jealous. They thought he was giving them more attention, but in essence, they had good manners. So he tells his father, and his father says, well, you know what? Don't tell your brothers, they might get jealous of it. But this looks like you will reach great heights. So what happens? For the first time, and I'll go back here. So he tells them, don't relate your dream to your brothers. Okay? Allah will teach you the interpretation of dreams. He will make you something great. So Allah says there is a sign for them. I'm just going through each bit for a minute. Now, Yusuf, they say Yusuf and his brother are closer to our father, so they're jealous. So they say, let's kill him. Let's see what happens. Let's kill him, or we just exile him, send him somewhere. So we come to ayah 10. I've drawn a well here. Okay, right there. Let's go to the ayah. قَالَ قَائِلٌ مِّنْهُمْ. So one of the brothers was a little bit less jealous, and he didn't like the idea of killing Yusuf. So قَالَ قَائِلٌ, his name was Levi. He says, لَا تَقْتُلُ Yusuf, don't kill Yusuf. وَأَلْقُوهُ, let's put him فِي غَيَابَةِ الْجُبِّ. Let's put him in this unused hole or well. It was a well. It had a ledge in it. It was disused. It opened up into a vault. يَلْتَقِطْهُ بَعْضُ السَّيَّارَةَ إِن كُنْتُمْ فَاعِلِينَ. Maybe some travelers will come and pick him up. So this is ayah 10. So they lower him onto the ledge, and we'll see what they tell his father. And he's down there for 3 days. It's awful. In fact, he's down there scared, and he's tiny, he's 12, he's scared, he's just petrified. So they go back to their father, and he says, what happened? Where is Yusuf? I can't see him. So let's see what they say. This is ayah 18. وَجَاءُوا عَلَى قَمِيصِهِ. They brought his shirt. بِدَمٍ كَذِبٍ, with false blood, because the father didn't allow them to take him first. And he said, I'm scared, a wolf will eat him. They used the same story. They said, a wolf ate him, and this is the blood. قَالَ بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ. You've made this thing so small, can you take what you've done seriously? صَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. But patience and perseverance is beautiful. وَاللَّهُ مُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. And Allah will help against all these stories that you have made up. So let's go back to my Qur'an. Okay. So you can see I've drawn a shirt here. And a shirt will come here lots of times. Okay. And then you can read the rest of it. The story comes in this way. Alright. So now what happens? We find that some travelers come. Oh, before that, let me tell you, Jibreel comes to him and teaches him a dua. He says, Yusuf, you know you're scared down here, but Yusuf, do some dua. And he tells him, pray. First say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, then say La ilaha illallah, then say You are Rahman and Rahim, Badi'us samawati wal ard, the originator of the heavens and the earth, Dhul Jalali wal Ikram, the one who possesses might and honor. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Shower your blessings on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and help me. Jibreel tells him, say that and tell Allah, help me from what I don't expect any help. And then he says, he does another dua. 3 days he's down there, he's praying like that. And then he does another dua and he says, Ya Allah, I now ask you, if you look down in my Quran, I've put it down, there's a dua of desperations. He says, Ya Allah, I ask you in the name of my father, Ya'qub, bring us back together again. And Allah in ayah 15 tells him, you shall, can you see that? وَأَوْهَيْنَا إِلَيْهِ, we revealed to him. We told him that they will come to you and you will show them the reality of their deeds. And one day they will not recognize you, but you will be greater than them. Okay? So we find, when you turn the page, that these people, that some people came, they found him in the well, they pulled him up, but they knew they were kidnapping, so they hid him. And they took him straight to And we're told they found him on the 3rd of Muharram. And they fed him, they gave him dry clothes, and they took him straight from Palestine, which was his homeland, to Egypt, and quickly sold him to the first person for 20 silver pieces. That was 18 days later. And they sell him to what you call an Aziz. An Aziz means a noble one. The noble one, a government official of Egypt. And he immediately recognized that this boy was from a noble family. So he grows up in a affluent family, and he's given a life of luxury. He's very good looking, in and out. He's got a wonderful inside. His character is beautiful. Now she felt an emotional void, right? So she's feeling really bad. You can look here. She's feeling an emotional void. And she one day closes the doors and she tells him, Haytalak, come to me. And he says, Ma'adallah, I can't do that. Innahu Rabbi ahsanunu mathwaya. I just can't do that. I seek refuge from Allah. My Rabb is so good to me. And he does not. La yuflihu dhalimun. Look what Qur'an says. وَلَقَدْ حَمَّتْ بِهِ وَحَمَّتْ بِهَا. And I've put that in red. Ham is to desire, to want something. It could be a want that is unfulfilled or a want that is fulfilled. So in her case, she tried to fulfill that want of him. And he would have desired her, and I'll put it in that way, he would have desired her had he not seen Burhan Rabbi, the proof of his master. He was a man. So in essence, no one is above temptation. But this is what helped. This is what happened to him. So what happens? She closes the door and she tears at his shirt. وَأَذَقْنَا الْبَابِ. Right? And she tears at his shirt from the back. Now what happens? Her husband sees them, or rather he runs to the door opens, the husband is there, and he sees them, and he says, what's going on? Now this is going to become a political scandal. It's going to be really, really difficult. So let's look at ayah 25, 26 and 27. قَالَ هِيَ رَوَيْتَنِي مِن نَفْسِي. He said, wasn't me. She was the one, because she said, what is the punishment for somebody who's trying to seduce me? And he said, it wasn't me, it was her. But then an infant from his household, وَهِشَهِدَ شَاهِدُ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا, says, إِنْ كَانَ كَمِيسُهُ قُدَّ مِنْ قُبُلٍ. If the shirt is torn from the front, فَصَدَقَتْ, she's truthful. وَهُوَ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ, and he's one of the liars. وَإِنْ كَانَ كَمِيسُهُ قُدَّ مِنْ ذُبُرٍ, if the shirt is torn from the back, فَكَذَبَتْ, she is the liar. وَهُوَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ, and he is telling the truth. Okay, so what happens? I'm going to keep it here, but let's see what happens. So you can see this shirt is, you'll see the shirt everywhere. You saw the shirt which was shown to Prophet Yaqub. You now have a shirt again here. You have another shirt here. You have another shirt here. So when the husband saw that the shirt was torn from behind, he said, this is the plot of a woman. Your plot is awful. Look what happens. Yusufa, a'arid an hadha. He says, Yusuf, turn aside from this. And he tells his wife, ask for forgiveness. But now, in high society, in Egyptian society, this had become a massive political scandal. And the gossip was awful. The women were all talking about them. And she thought, you know what I'm going to do? She called all those women, because all of them were saying, oh my goodness, look at what she's done. So now see, that's what happens. So when she heard of their talks, of what they were saying, she called them all to them. And she sat them down and she gave them a fruit and a paring knife to every single one of them. Right? وَأَنْتَ كُلَّ وَاحِدَةٍ مِّنْهُنَّ سِكِّينًا. Sikinan is a knife. And then he says, وَقَالَتِ اخْرُجْ عَلَيْهِنَّ فَلَمَّا رَعَيْنَهُ أَكْبَرْنَهُ وَقَطَّعْنَ أَيْدِيَهُنَّ. Look what they did. She called Yusuf, come. And when they saw him, they didn't cut the fruit. They cut their hands. And they says, وَقُلْنَا حَاشَ لِلَّهِ مَا هَذَا بَشَرٌ. Oh my goodness. My goodness, this is not a human being. In هَذَا إِلَّا مَلَكٌ كَرِيمٌ. This is an angel. This is not a human being. So you can see, I put a knife and a hand and they cut their hands. So now she had they had no leverage over her, because they were all witness to each other that they all absolutely fell for him inside and out. So he wasn't just physically good to look at, he was just amazingly kind. There was like noor radiating from him. So now she thought, I can do what I want. But look what he says. He says, قال يا ربي السجن أحب إلي. The prison house is better for me than that which they invite me. And you know what? If you don't turn away their plots from me, I just can't do it. I can't keep myself away. I just need to get away from this. So you can see in my Qur'an, I've put a prison house and I've put his dua. And Allah accepts his dua. He's a man, I told you. He's a human being. There is still this feeling of attraction in him. And he doesn't want that at all. So Allah accepts his dua. And what happens? This thing becomes such a political big thing that they make him a scapegoat. So they think, you can see, ثُمَّ بَدَعَ لَهُمْ, it occurred to them that, you know what, they should imprison him for a little while, because all the wives lobbied their husbands, and Yusuf is put into prison just as he wanted. Now let's see what happens in prison. So in prison he's got two mates, two people who are with him. وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ, and two of his two prison mates as such are there. قال أحدهما, one of them said, إني أراني أعصر خمرا, I can see myself pressing wine. وقال الآخر, the other one says, إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا, I see on top of my head bread. تأكل الطير, and birds are eating of it. منه نبئنا بتأويله, we see in you somebody who knows the interpretation, so tell me what these dreams mean. إِنَّا نَرَاكَ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, we see you somebody who's really good, you're amazingly good, that's what we see in you. So in my Quran you can see I've put two dreams. I've put the bread and the birds, and I've put the pressing of grapes. Okay, so he tells them their dream. He says the one, and you can go down here and you can see it. He tells the one who's pressing grapes, you will go back. And he tells the one from whom birds are eating off his head, he says, well, you won't go back. Seems like you're going to be put to death. So what happens? He tells the one who is to go back to the king that, remember me, please remember me. Remember me to the king. Tell him that I'm here. But this guy forgets. Freedom is so good to him. He completely forgets. So, this years go by, and he raises his hands in dua, and Jibreel teaches him to ask through Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, and see what happens. Now the king has a dream. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ إِنِّي أَرَى سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ, I see 7 fat cows. I see 7 thin cows eating 7 fat cows. And then I see 7 ears of corn that are dry eating the 7 green ones. And he says, you know what? Oh, my chiefs. He says, Ya ayyuhal malaw, all my advisors, aftuni fi ru'yaya, explain to me this dream. In kuntum lirru'ya ta'burun, if you can interpret these dreams. And they say, we can't do this. We don't know. Now the cupbearer, he remembered Yusuf, and he says, oh my goodness, I remember someone, and I will tell you, O king, of the interpretation. Let me go. So he goes to Yusuf and he says, explain to us, what is this? What happens? And Yusuf said, for 7 years you will have a harvest which will be really good, but then there will be a drought. So in your harvest you should be able to store grain, so it will help you through the drought. He comes back and he tells the king, and the king says, that wasn't you. Who is it? Bring him to me. Can you see that? So I've highlighted it. Bring him to me. So let's see what happens. And Yusuf said, I'm not coming. I'm only going to come if you absolve me of what I did, because I didn't do anything wrong. I was imprisoned wrongly. And so the king summons all those women, and they all bear witness. They admit that he was innocent, and that's in ayah 51. Okay, and this is what Yusuf says. He says, ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمَ, no, أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنُ, I did not بِالْغَيْبِ, I did not betray the Aziz in his absence. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ, and Allah does not guide the people who make plots or plans, and if they are khainin, if they are unfaithful. And we will do the next ayah inshallah tomorrow, because that's the beginning of Juz 13. So ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow.